So the next big question is, okay, how did Ashkenazim specifically become white eligible? And I want to...
How did you, so-called Eastern Europeans, become white eligible? Well, we know how. You converted. You're converts. But listen to what he says.
Emphasize here this point that, you could simply say become white, but that's not at all accurate, because whiteness is, as social scientists have demonstrated in so many ways, a social construct, and people are accepted or not accepted as white, which means essentially being, within
and we've always said that to you, right? Elder Malcolm always speaks about this social construct. White, to be called white is a social construct. To be called black is a social construct. Because within this social construct, the white people are at the top and the so-called black people are at the bottom. There is no such thing as so-called white people or so-called black people. We all belong to ethnicities. We all belong to nations. Our ethnicity, we are the Israelites. His ethnicity, he is an Edomite. He goes back to Amalek. They are the Edomites. We're ethnicities. The social constructs were created by the so-called white man, these Edomites, to keep you at the bottom and to keep you from your heritage by calling you black and labeling you as black. That's all you are, is black, black, black. And by calling themselves white. That way, no one needs to find out that they are the Edomites. Those are social constructs that were created by the so-called white man, which is referred to as white supremacy, to keep them on top. White Jesus, white Moses, white disciples, white apostles. You go to the 16th temple, they've got the Most High white with the Lord white, naked and in the temple. The angels are white, little white babies. All social constructs to keep them in the position of power and supremacy, when they truly know they are the Edomites, and we, who they've had in captivity, are the Israelites. So he's telling you that it's a social construct. There's no such thing.
Because whiteness is, as social scientists have demonstrated in so many ways, a social construct, and people are accepted or not accepted as white, which means essentially being, within the higher status of society, based on a whole host of factors, of which complexion is only one of them. And quite often there is kind of like a spectrum of skin colors that can still, as they say, pass. For Jews, whiteness was really not extended to them as people. When I say Jews, I mean Ashkenazi Jews here in America, really until the 1940s. In that brief honeymoon period after the Holocaust, which unfortunately seems to be waning now, where Jews were seen as part of the great triumvirate of American society, Protestant, Catholic, Jew, the idea of building a society that could include all of these different peoples together. Obviously, it did not extend to all peoples, but that's when sociologists say that Jews began to acquire much more whiteness. It also helped that there were lots of positive images of Jews that were emanating from the media out in the West Coast. Everything from, I think it's A.B. Loves Rosie, to various permutations of Jews being accepted in society and acting as comedians, things like that. So Jews were whitened primarily in the 1940s. Irish people also
they were whitened before that, but this is what they did. I'm going to jump up here. So I just really want to get to the point here, right? He's going to start explaining to you where Jews come from, right? And I'm just going to probably go to about here, all right?
66 through 74, which resulted in the destruction of the temple and a massive number of Jewish slaves shipped off to Rome. Josephus, who was our primary source for this period, he often exaggerates numbers, but many historians think he's probably pretty accurate in this period.
So this is what he's talking about now. This is what they call the founder event. He's now going to declare to you where the Ashkenazi Jews come from, all right? He's going to say to you, this is where they come from, this particular line of people, all right? So I want you to listen, then we're going to quickly show you something before we end this.
97,000 Jews being shipped off into slavery. And then 60 years later, you have another revolt, the Bar Kokhba rebellion. And in 135, the land is once again denuded of people, particularly in Judea itself, and Jews are shipped off to Rome for the slave markets, or also in Asia Minor and other places. So you've got now a big population of Jews living in Rome. And by the way, there was a population of Jews living in Rome that predated the war. There's references to it in a lot of the rabbinic literature that goes back.
Those Jews that were living in Rome then, during the time of the diaspora, 70 AD, being when the Romans took down Jerusalem, those were the real Jews. Those were the people of color. Those were the Israelites, right? Those were the melanated people, different shades of brown. Those were the ones that were, we had 1.5 million went to the west coast of Africa, and hundreds of thousands of us went up into southern Europe. Basically, those were the real Jews that were dispersed and taken into captivity in 70 AD. All right, as prophesied in the book of Daniel, the book of Matthew's. All right, and that was going to before the children of Israel. All right, Matthew's 24, Daniel's chapter 12, I believe. All right.
Well into the 1st century before the Common Era, even some scattered references for the 2nd century before the Common Era, when Judah Maccabee first made a pact with the Romans. And we have corresponding evidence from Cicero and various other Roman authors. So now we've got a big population in Rome of Jews, and they become free after some time. And they're significantly mixing, just like they were in Israel, with South Italians, and then later with North Italians. And then you have the founder event. And this is something which we
weren't mixing freely, because you've got to remember, we were taken down by the Romans. We went into captivity under the Romans as slaves. So when we was in Italy, we weren't moving freely. We were their slaves and their servants in Italy, the real Jews, after 70 AD. That's what 70 AD was about, the destruction of the temple, the second temple. The Israelites were dispersed. They burnt down the temple. They took all the valuables out of there, the gold, the silver, the bronze, everything out of the temple. They killed hundreds of thousands of us. Over 1 million of us went into the interiors of Africa. Hundreds of thousands went throughout Europe, were taken into captivity by the Romans. So we were not moving freely in Roman territory, in Rome, in Italy, like what he's saying there, right? Because we were just taken down by the Romans, so we became their slaves. Slaves don't move around freely. If you're a slave, you're under orders. You can be in at a certain time out. You got certain work to do. You're not moving freely. All right, just so you understand.
Have described in Jewish literary sources, so this is not like a new surprise to us at all. Sometime around the year 800, a small group of Jews left northern Italy. We even know the names of some of them, the Kalonymus family, for example. They left.
Keep that name in mind, right? The Kalonymus family, all right? He said some small set of Jews left from northern Italy to go into Germany. He says the name of that family was the Kalonymus family, Kalonymus. All right, and we're going to read about them, but listen to what Esther says first about this family, right? Listen carefully.
Their homes in northern Italy, and they're made their way up to the Rhineland in contemporary.
Now, the Rhineland is Germany.
The Kalonymus family.
All right, listen carefully.
Left northern Italy. We even know the names of some of them. The Kalonymus family, for example. They left their homes.
Sorry, they left northern Italy, the Kalonymus family. He said the Kalonymus family, which were Jews, left northern Italy and went up into the Rhineland. The Rhineland is what we know today as modern-day Germany. All right? Listen carefully.
Northern Italy, and they're made their way up to the Rhineland in contemporary Germany. Those people form the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jewry. This is attested not only in the literary record.
So he said those people, that family, formed the nucleus of the Ashkenazi Jews, the Kalonymus family that went from northern Italy into Germany. All right, listen up.
Of the origins of Ashkenazim, but we also have some interesting DNA evidence that predates this particular study from Erfurt that even shows that roughly half of Levites who come from Ashkenaz are descended from just 4 women, 4 presumably Italian women who marry Jewish men, and Judaism is matrilineal.
Do you hear how contradictory that was? So he says a high proportion of the Levites descend from 4 women, Italian women who married Jewish men. Now remember, these so-called Jews don't believe in patriarchal system. They believe in the matriarchal system, which means your mother has to be a Jew to be a Jew. That's what they believe in, these so-called Ashkenazi Jews. They don't believe that your father has to be a Jew. But he's just said to you, contradicting everything that they believe, that these 4 women are the progenitors of half of the Levites tribe that live all throughout Europe. Listen to what he says. Listen again.
Roughly half of Levites who come from Ashkenaz are descended from just 4 women. 4 presumably Italian women who marry Jewish men.
Did you hear that? So it says half of the Ashkenazi Jews that descend from the Levites descend from 4 Italian women that he believes married 4 Jewish men. But yet they believe that your mum's got to be a Jew for you to be a Jew. So how could they even be Jews in their eyes if they descended from 4 women? They shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. If they descended from 4 Italian women that were not Jews. He himself just said that. But yet their whole system they believe in is based on your mother being a Jew, not your father. But listen on.
And Judaism is matrilineal, so, and these are going to be, you know,
He just said it. He said Judaism is matrilineal, so he just said it. But yet, half of the Ashkenazi so-called Jews descend from 4 Italian women that married Jewish men. But yet, Judaism is matrilineal, so he just said it. So how could they be possibly Jews in his eyes, right, so-called Jews, if they've descended from 4 Italian women that were not Jews? That's why I say you've got to be careful with these people, boy. You've got to listen to what they say carefully. Total contradiction. Total contradiction. But listen on.
Representatives of rabbinic culture, so we assume there was some conversion going on there. But anyways, let's go back to where we are here. The founder event happens in around 800 CE, and the remains that were studied in this particular paper come from Erfurt a good 500 years later. And by studying the DNA of these teeth, they're able to draw connections backwards that specifically prove this point, that they all descend from a small group of northern Italians in particular. One thing that is not supported by the data, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but
So he says they come from, he says the other half of those Ashkenazi Jews come from that small family called the Kalonymus family, all right? He said that's what the other half of the Ashkenazi Jews that came out of Italy, the small family that came out of Italy, the Kalonymus family, the other half of the Ashkenazi Jews in Europe, Germany, and the Reinhardt, descend from that family there, all right? The Kalonymus family. So we're just going to quickly show you a couple of things here before we shut this down. This is who he's talking about. So we're in the Jewish virtual library, all right? So we're going to look at, we're in their books, all right, to get this truth. It says there, the Kalonymus, one of the most eminent Jewish families in Germany, which is what he was speaking about, that came out of Italy, which flourished from the 9th to the 13th century, especially in the cities near the Rhine. Among its members were numerous rabbis, preachers, poets, teachers, authors, moralists, and theologians. The most prominent communal leaders of this period came from its ranks. The origins of the family go back to 8th century Italy, which is what he was talking about. All right, they come from northern Italy, this Kalonymus family that are responsible for the progenitor of half of the Ashkenazi Jews that we see today. He says they go back to 8th century Italy, although the name Kalonymus appears in Talmudic literature. The father of Onkelos, the great translator of the Bible, was, according to Avodah right, in 11a, called Kalonymus. So, although other sources refer to him with a different name, example, Kalonymus, right? While Kalonymus is the name of many medieval Jewish families, it appears it does not always indicate a connection with the family described there. So, Kalonymus, his father is Onkelos, right? Onkelos is the great translator of the Bible. According to the Avodah Zorah 11a, which we're going to look at, called Kalonymus. He's called Kalonymus, although other sources refer to him by a different name. The father of Onkelos, the father of Onkelos, the great translator of the Bible, was, according to this book here, Avodah Zarah 11a, he was called Kalonymus. All right? Although other sources refer to him with a different name as Kalonymus, all right? Same person, same name, but they're spelled differently. So, Onkelos' father is Kalonymus. He said Kalonymus is the family that came out of northern Italy, right? Northern Italy, North Italian, and went up into Germany, and he's a progenitor of half of the Ashkenazi Jews today. So we got Kalonymus there. Let's look. He said the father of Onkelos. So let's look at who this Onkelos was, right? According to this book here in the Talmud, Avodah Zarah 11a. So we've got this book up here, just to show you something, right? It says here, this is it here, Avodah Zarah 11a, what they were referring to. It says there, the Gemara mentions, right? The Gemara mentions, right? Other Romans were converted to Judaism, all right? Listen carefully. It relates, Onkelos bar Kalonymus converted to what? To Judaism. The Roman emperor sent a troop of Roman soldiers after him to seize Onkelos and bring him to the emperor. Onkelos drew them towards him with verses that he cried and learned with them, and they converted. So Onkelos converted to Judaism. Who is Onkelos again? The father of Onkelos, the great translator of the Bible, according to the Avodah Zarah, was called Kalonymus. His father was Kalonymus. They are converts. So, according to what he just said, the progenitor of half of the Ashkenazi Jews that were in Germany and Eastern Europe today descend from Kalonymus. Kalonymus had a son called Onkelos. They converted to what? What did Onkelos convert to? Onkelos bar Kalonymus converted to Judaism. They are converts. Let's go back and listen to what he said again. One more time.
Jews, and they become free after some time, and they're significantly mixing, just like they were in Israel, with South Italians, and then later with North Italians, and then you have the founder event. And this is something which we actually have described in Jewish literary sources, so this is not like a new surprise to us at all. Sometime around the year 800, a small group of Jews left northern Italy. We even know the names of some of them, the Kalonymus family, for example.
Do you hear that? A small set of Jews left northern Italy. We even know the name of them. They are the Kalonymus family. He's talking about these people here. He's the father of Onkelos. Onkelos did what? Onkelos bar Kalonymus converted to Judaism. They are converts. Him himself now is telling you, without even telling you. Listen again.
Year 800, a small group of Jews left northern Italy. We even know the names of some of them, the Kalonymus family, for example. They left their homes in northern Italy, and they made their way up to the Rhineland in contemporary Germany. Those people form the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jewry.
They formed the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jewry, the Kalonymus. Well, the Kalonymus were converts, just like the other set of people, Eastern Europeans. The Khazarians are converts, just like the Kalonymus. So you got the Kalonymus, they're converts. They formed half of modern-day Jewry, just like he just said, just like these Khazarians here. They form probably the other half. Over 1,000 years ago, the far east of Europe was ruled by Jewish kings who presided over numerous tribes, including their own tribe, the Turkic Khazars. After their conversion, the Khaza people used Jewish personal names, spoken and wrote in Hebrew, were circumcised, had synagogues, rabbis, studied the Torah and the Talmud, and observed Hanukkah, Pesach, which is Passover, and the Sabbaths. The Khazars were an advanced civilization with one of the most tolerant societies in the medieval period. It hosted merchants from all over Asia and Europe. One of these pages, it is hoped that you would learn more about this fascinating culture. So the Khazarians were another set of Eastern Europeans that converted. So the Kalonymus are not the Khazarians. They're just another set of Edomites that come from the Kalonymus, which were converts. So the Khazarians, Eastern Europeans, they were converts as well, converted to Judaism, took on the culture, the language. It says there, Khaza people used personal names, spoken, wrote in Hebrew, circumcised, and had synagogues and rabbis and studied in the Torah and the Talmud and observed the Hanukkah and the Pesach and the Sabbaths. Converts. So this is it, after their conversion. All right? These are the Khazars. So they're responsible for the conversion of millions of those Eastern Europeans that we see today, but so are also this family here, the Kalonymus, who he said is the progenitor of this founder event. That's what he said, right? This founder event.
Just like they were in Israel with South Italians, and then later with North Italians. And then you have the founder event. And this is something which we actually have described in Jewish literary sources. So this is not like a new surprise to us at all. Sometime around the year 800, a small group of Jews left northern Italy. We even know the names of some of them, the Kalonymus family, for example. They left their homes in northern Italy and they made their way up to the Rhineland in contemporary Germany. Those people form the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jewry.
Simple. The nucleus. So, I don't say no more. I'm going to leave it there because we've gone 2 hours now, all right? We had an interruption in the middle, but we've gone 2 hours. I pray you were edified by today's edification. And it was a long one today, but it was worth the wait. It was worth the session, the edifying, to understand what's going on, which is a response to how did Ashkenazium become white eligible, right? By this PhD Henry Abramson. As you can see, him himself told you where they came from. The founder event was the Kalonymus family. The Kalonymus family are converts, as we read in their own book, in their own Talmud, told you that they themselves converted to Judaism, which would tell you they can't be descended from any of the biblical Israelites. It's as simple as that. So I pray you were edified by today's edification. Sorry about the interruption that we had halfway through. Couldn't get around that. The laptop locked up. But as always, I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakah, Qadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who are leading this word in truth and spirit and sincerity. As I always say, Kal Halal, Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the Most High's name. Yahweh Shai is the Son's name. Keep praying, keep safe, and hold on to this truth. As always, this is all we got. Their backs are against the wall. Are they throwing in the towel? Not yet, but as we can see, they're trying to damage the limitation process by finally coming clean and telling us that the true Hebrew Israelites were a nation of people of color. Undeniable. But they're trying to wiggle their way in by saying who their founders were. As you could see, their founder, Kalonymus, was a convert. And the other part of that make up that nation, who are the Khazars, converts as well. So, shalom, 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 family. All praises, all praises, all praises, all praises.